Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint by Sing Shong. Chapter 1. Starting the Paid Service. Part 1. I'm Dokja. Dokja equals can mean only son or reader. I usually introduced myself to people like this, then the following misunderstanding would occur. Oh, are you an only child? I am, but that isn't what I mean. Huh? Then? My name is Dokja. Kim Dokja. Kim Dokja, Kim highly respected only son. My father gave me that name to be a strong man by myself. However, thanks to the name my father gave me, I turned out to be just a normal single and lonely man. In short, it was like this. I was Kim Dokja, 28 years old, and single. My hobby was reading web novels on the subway. Then I'll go on my smartphone. In a noisy subway, I raised my head reflexively. A pair of curious eyes were staring straight at me. They belonged to an employee from the Human Resources team, Yusanga. Ah, hello. Are you going home from work? Yes. What about Yusanga SSI? I was lucky. The manager went on a business trip today. Yusanga sat down soon as the seat next to me became vacant. A subtle scent came from her shoulders, making me nervous. Do you normally take the subway? That, Yusanga made a dark expression. Come to think of it, this was the first time I'd met Yusanga on a subway train. Starting with personnel manager Kong to finance manager Han. There were rumors that Yusanga had men from the company driving her home every workday. Yet unexpected words came from Yusanga's mouth. Someone stole my bicycle. Bicycle? You commute by bike? Yes. I have a lot of overtime these days and seem to be lacking exercise. It is a bit annoying, but it is worth doing. Aha, I see. Yusanga smiled. Looking closer at her, I could understand the feelings men held toward her. However, it was none of my business. Every person had a genre of life, and Yusanga was someone who lived a genre different from myself. After the awkward conversation, we looked at our phones. I opened up the novel app one was reading on before while Yusanga. What was this? Por favor dinero. Huh? Spanish. I see. What does it mean? Please give me some money, Yusanga replied proudly. Studying on the subway while going home. She truly had a genre different from me. However, what was the use of memorizing words? You're working hard. By the way, what is Dokja SSI looking at? Yusanga's gaze was fixed on the LCD screen of my smartphone. Is it a novel? Yes, well. I am studying Korean. Wow, I also like novels. I haven't been able to read lately because I don't have time. It was surprising. Yusanga liked reading novels. Murakami Haruki, Raymond Carver, Hong Kong, I thought so. Dokja SSI, what writers do you like? You won't know even if I say their names. I've read a lot of novels. Who are the authors? At this time, it was really hard to say that I read web novels as a hobby. I glanced at the title of the novel in the app. The World After the Fall. Author, Sing Shang, TL. The author uses the name of his previous novel and his author name, but with slight changes. I decided to go with the actual novel translation name. I couldn't say that I was reading The World After the Fall by Sing Shang. It is just a fantasy novel. That. Well, like The Lord of the Rings. Yusanga's eyes widened. Aha. Lord of the Rings. I've seen the movie. The movie is good. The silence continued for a moment. Yusanga was looking at me like she was waiting for me to say something. Our conversation was becoming strained. So, I decided to change the topic. It has been a year since I joined the company. This is my last year. Time moves really fast. Yes. At that time, we both knew nothing, right? That's right. It seems like just yesterday, but the contract period is already over. I realized that I'd said something wrong when I saw Yusenga's expression. I had forgotten. Yusenga received credit for a foreign buyer last month and was already promoted to a full-time employee. Right. My congratulations are late. I'm sorry. Haha, I should have worked hard to study a foreign language. No Dr. SSI. There is still the performance review and... I hated to admit it, but the sight of Yusenga talking was wonderful. It was like the world's spotlight was shining down on only one person. If this world was a novel, the protagonist would be such a person. In fact, it was the inevitable result. I hadn't tried, but Yusenga made an effort. I just read novels on the internet, while Yusenga studied hard. It was natural that Yusenga would become a full-time employee, and that my contract would be terminated. That. Dr. SSI. Yes. If you don't mind. Would you like to know the app one use? Yusenga's voice momentarily became distant. It felt like the world was far away. I braced my mind and stared straight ahead. A boy was sitting in the seat opposite me on the train. He was 10 years old or so. The boy held an insect-collecting net as he sat next to his mother, laughing happily. Dr. SSI? What if I had a different life from now? I mean, what if my life genre was different? Kim Dok. If the genre of my life wasn't realism, but fantasy, could I be the protagonist? I didn't know. It would probably be unknown forever. However, there was one thing I knew. It is okay, Yusenga SSI. Huh? It won't work even if you tell me the app. The genre of my life was obviously realism. Dokja has a solo life. Huh? What? I am just someone like that. In this genre, I wasn't a protagonist, but a solo person. The life of a solo, Yusenga had a serious expression on her face, however, I waved my hands to show it was really okay. I didn't know why, but this person was really worried about me. Maybe because she was part of the personnel department. I was already aware of my performance though. Dr. SSI is really good. Yes? Then I will live an ivory life. Senga equals ivory. Yusenga seemed to have decided something as she turned back to studying Spanish. I gazed at her for a while, before returning to the novel. Everything had returned to normal, but strangely, my scrolling of the novel didn't go well. Maybe it was because I realized the weight of reality that I couldn't scroll down. At that time, a notification appeared at the top of my smartphone. You have one new mail. It was from the author of Ways of Survival. I opened the mail. Reader Nim, my novel will become paid from 7 p.m. This will be helpful. Good luck. One attachment. The author said he would give me a gift. What was the gift? Like my name, I was also a reader by nature. So, I was excited to receive the mail. Yes, it wasn't bad living as a reader. I checked the time. It was 6:55 p.m. I had exactly 5 minutes before the novel became monetized at 7 p.m. Then I opened up my list of preferred novels in the app. Since I was the only reader, I should leave a congratulatory comment and give strength to the author. However, the work doesn't exist. I tried typing ruined several times in the search box, but the result was the same. The bulletin board for Ways of Survival had disappeared without a trace. It was strange. Had there ever been a case of a novel being deleted without notification when it was going to be monetized? At that moment, the subway lights turned off, and the inside of the train became dark. Kai-yik dash. The subway train shook loudly and let out a metallic sound. It caused Yusenga to scream and grab my arm. Then I heard the sound of other people getting stirred up. Yusenga gripped my arm so tightly that I paid more attention to the pain in my left arm than the sudden stop. It took a dozen seconds for the train to stop fully. Then I heard confused voices coming from everywhere. What? What is this? In the dark, one or two smartphone lights turned on. Yusenga still held my left arm tightly as she asked, what is going on? I pretended to be unconcerned. Don't worry. It isn't a big deal. Is that so? Yes, it is probably a disturbance from a suicide. The engineer will soon make an announcement. As I finished speaking, I heard the engineer's announcement, telling all passengers on the train. Telling all passengers on the train. The loud surroundings became calm. I sighed and opened my mouth. See, it isn't a big deal. Now an apology will air, and the power will come back on. Everyone run away. Run. What? There was a beeping sound, and the broadcast turned off. The inside of the train became a mess. DDoC. What is this? A bright light flashed from the front of the subway train. There was a loud drumming sound, followed by a pop. Something was heading this way in the darkness. It was just a coincidence that I saw the clock at this moment, 7 p.m. Tick, it felt like the world was stopping. Then I heard a voice. The free service of Planetary System 8612 has been terminated. The main scenario has started. This was the moment the genre of my life changed. Chapter 2. Starting the paid service. Part 2. Dakibi. The first time he appeared, someone said so. Korean goblin. I didn't know why, but that sentence suddenly popped up in my head. The stopped subway train, the dark room. These details gave me a sense of déjà vu. The subway had stopped before, but it was rare. Even so, why? I remembered the familiar words from a novel, but it was ridiculous. Wasn't it impossible? At this moment, the door of car 3807 opened wide, and the electricity returned. Yusenga muttered by my side, Dakibi? My head was ringing. I trembled uneasily as the novel I knew and the reality before me overlapped. With two small horns and wearing a small straw mat, the strange and fluffy creature was floating in the air. It was too strange to call it a fairy, too evil to call it an angel, and too tranquil to call it a demon. Thus, it was called a Dakibi. And I already knew the first thing the Dakibi would say. And hashtag at, and hashtag at. And hashtag at, and hashtag at. Fiction and reality overlapped precisely. What is this? Augmented reality? Amidst the chattering people, I was thrown into another world alone. This was unmistakably a Dakibi, the very Dakibi that opened the door to tragedy for thousands of lives and ways of survival. It was Yusenga's voice that broke me out of my thoughts. It sounds vaguely like Spanish. Should I talk to it? I was a bit taken aback and asked, do you know what that is? Will you ask it for money? No, but... It was at this time that I heard the correct pronunciation of Korean. Ah. Ah. Does this sound good? Ah, I had a hard time because the Korean patch didn't work. Everyone, can you hear my words? As a familiar language was being spoken, I could see people's expressions relax. Then the first one to step up was a big man in a suit. Hey, what are you doing right now? Huh? Are you filming? I have to go because I have to quickly get to an audition. He seemed to be an obscure actor since his face was unfamiliar. If I were a casting director, I would have picked him out for his brimming ambition. Unfortunately, the presence before him right now wasn't a director. Ah, auditions. That's right. This is also an audition. Haha, there was a shortage of data. I just entered when it was monetized at 7 p.m. What? What are you talking about? Now. All of you, relax in your seats and listen to me. From now on, I will tell you something very important. My chest was becoming stuffy. What? Quickly get off the train. Somebody call the captain. What are they doing without the cooperation of the citizens? Mother, what is that? A cartoon? There was no doubt about it. This was the development I knew. I didn't want to be mixed up in this, but there was no way. The people present wouldn't listen to the small and cute-looking CG creature. The only thing I could do was stop Usanga, who was trying to get up from her seat. Usanga SSI, it is dangerous, so stay here. Huh? Usanga's eyes widened. I spoke during a moment of bewilderment, but there was no way to explain what I understood. To be exact, I didn't have to explain. Haha, you are really loud. There was a presence with a stronger persuasive power than anyone else right now. I told you to be quiet. I closed my eyes slowly as the Dakibi's eyes turned red. Something burst, and the subway became silent. There was a big hole in the forehead of the unknown actor who had to go to the audition. The man who had spoken several times collapsed on the spot. This isn't a movie shoot. There was a cracking sound once again. This time, it was the person talking about the captain. It isn't a dream. It isn't a novel either. 1, 2. Blood sprayed into the air as the heads of some people started to burst. They were all the people who had protested against the Dakibi, as well as the ones who screamed or went wild. Those who caused the slightest fuss had a hole in their heads. Suddenly, the subway became a bloodbath. This isn't the reality that you know. Do you understand? So everyone shut up and listen to me. More than half the people present here died. Blood and body pieces filled the subway. Now, the people didn't scream. Like primitive apes in front of a powerful predator, everyone just watched the Dakibi with terror. I was surprised and held tightly onto the shoulder of Usanga, who was hiccuping. This was real. The strange message which entered my ears, the Dakibi had appeared in front of me, and the train car that had become a bloodbath. Everyone, your lives have been nice so far. Isn't that right? By the special needs seating, an elderly grandmother met the eyes of the Dakibi. You have been living too long for free. Isn't life too generous? You were born and paid no price for breathing, eating, pooping, and breeding. Huh. You really live in a good world. Free? No one in the subway lived for free. The people strived to make money in order to survive, and they rode the subway on the way home from work. Yet at this moment, no one disputed the Dakibi's words. But now the good days are over. How long can you continue living for free? If you want to enjoy happiness, it is common sense to pay a price. Isn't that right? The gasping people couldn't answer. Then at that time, someone carefully raised their hand. Do you want money? I wondered what type of person could speak in the middle of this situation, but surprisingly, I knew his face. Usanga SSI. Isn't that department head Han of the finance team? Right. There was no doubt. He was a typical parachute in the company and the number one person newcomers avoided. Parachute, a person who relies on their connections, it was Han Myungo, department head of the finance team. Why was that man riding the subway? I will give you money. Take it. Please note that I am a person like this. Department head Han pulled out his business card as people cheered him on. It was the atmosphere of a savior fighting against terrorists. How much do you want? A big one? Or two? He was offering a sum that was overly large for a department head of a subsidiary company. There was a rumor that Han Myungo was the youngest son of the leader of the affiliate company, and now I thought it might be true. I couldn't carry that many checks in my wallet. HRMM, you are giving me money? That's right. The cash I have right now isn't much, but I can give you anything if you let me out of here. Money, good. A plant fiber that many humans mutually agree on. The department head's expression brightened. It was an indeed, money is everything expression. How pitiful. Now, this is all I have. It only applies in your time and space. Huh? At the next moment, flames appeared in the air, and the checks in the department head's hands burned up. Department head Han let out a scream. That paper has no value in the macrocosm world. If you do this one more time, I will blow away your head. Fear once again spread on the faces of the people present. It was easy to read what they were thinking, because it was just like the novel. What the hell will happen now? Only I knew what was going to happen in the future. Phew, the debt is piling up during the time when you are noisy. Well, yes. Rather than explain it 100 times, isn't it quicker for you to make money yourself? The Dakibi's horns rose like they were antennas, and its body floated to the ceiling of the train. A moment later, a message rang out. #BI7623 channel is open. The constellations have entered. A small window emerged in front of everyone's blank eyes. The main scenario has arrived. Plus. Main scenario number 1, proof of value, category, main. Difficulty, F. Clear conditions, kill one or more living things. Time limit, 30 minutes. Compensation, 300 coins failure, death. Plus. The Dakibi smiled faintly as it became transparent and disappeared into the next space. Then, good luck everyone. Please show me an interesting story. Chapter 3. Starting the paid service. Part 3. People reacted differently after the Dakibi disappeared. Some people tried to get out of the train while others called the police. Yusenga belonged to the latter group. Police, the police aren't answering. What should I? Calm down, Yusenga SSI, I said, staring straight into Yusenga's unfocused eyes. Yusenga SSI. Have you ever played the game that the development team made? A game where the world is destroyed and only a few people survive. Huh? What are you say? Think about it. We are in a game right now. Yusenga silently licked her lips. Game. It is simple. Don't hesitate to do as I tell you. Understood? You understood. What should I do? Stay still. Finally, I slowly controlled my breathing. I too needed time to properly accept all of this. 3 ways to survive in a ruined world. The descriptions that existed only in the novel were now unfolding right before my eyes. The Dakibi stretched out its antenna. The bodies scattered like trash in the carriage. The bloodied office worker shaking. An old lady groaning in her seat. I watched every scene intently. It was like Neo in the Matrix, who suspected reality. Observing, questioning, and then eventually being convinced. I had to admit it. I didn't know the reason why, but there were no doubts about it. Ways of survival had become a reality. Let me think. How should I survive in this new world? Come on, everybody. Everybody calm down. Start breathing calmly. Someone stepped forward exactly 5 minutes after the Dakibi disappeared. He was a sturdy man with short-cut hair, 1 head taller than the average height. Are you calm yet? Please stop your actions and pay attention to me for a moment. The people sobbing or making calls stopped. Once everyone's eyes were gathered on him, the big man opened his mouth again. As you know, in the event of a national disaster, small disturbances can cause large human casualties. That's why I will now control the situation. What? Who are you? A national disaster situation? What are you saying? Some people belatedly recovered and strongly resisted the world control. Then the young man pulled a government official card out of his wallet. I am currently an Army lieutenant serving in the 6502 unit. Some people's faces became relieved. A soldier, he is a soldier. However, it was too early to be relieved. I just received a message from my unit. People gathered in front of the soldier's smartphone. I was able to read the contents without difficulty because I was near it. A level 1 national disaster situation has occurred. All troops gather quickly. I could hear gulps all around me. It was a national disaster situation. I wasn't surprised because I had already expected this. In fact, I was surprised because of something else. Army Lieutenant Lee Hyun-sung. That Lee Hyun-sung was this man. I knew who he was. It was the first time actually seeing his face, but his name was clear in my head. He was one of the main supporting actors of Ways of Survival. Steel Sword Lee Hyun-sung. A character from the novel had appeared. Now I really had to acknowledge the situation. Soldier Nim. What is happening? I have been trying to contact my unit, but... The Blue House. What is the Blue House doing? Please contact the president quickly. I'm sorry. I am just an ordinary soldier and don't have a hotline to the Blue House. Then why are you taking control? For the sake of the safety of all citizens. As Lee Hyun-sung calmly responded to the absurd questions, I realized that the descriptions in the novel weren't wrong. However, did Lee Hyun-sung originally appear like this? While thinking about these complicated questions, I had a strange hunch. As the only reader of Ways of Survival, I could assure you that Lee Hyun-sung's first appearance wasn't like this. The point at which he appeared in the novel was at the end of the first scenario. Then what was this situation? My mind became confused. I would know more clearly if I could read Ways of Survival once again. The Prime Minister is making a speech. It is really a level 1 disaster. Everyone turned on their smartphones at someone's cry. Yusenga turned her screen toward me. Dr. Sasai, look at this. There was no need to enter a search term. It was because the first result for all portal sites was Prime Minister's speech. Of course, I already knew the content of the video. To all my fellow citizens, unidentified terrorists are currently active in an unspecified number of areas, including Seoul. The contents of the speech were simple. The current government would mobilize all means and methods to fight the terrorists, and there would never be any negotiations. Thus, everyone should confidently continue with their lives. I hadn't thought much of it when I read the novel, but now I was a bit shocked when hearing those words. Terrorism. Yes, that would be more comfortable. But where is the president? Why is the Prime Minister making the speech? The president has already been hit. What? Really? I'm not sure. A neighbor comment shit, then it is fake. Of course, I knew it wasn't a fake comment. Yuaak. What? People dropped their phones as gunshots were heard from all over. It originated from their smartphones. Chiik, there was a loud sound, and blood filled the screen. After a moment, people held their breaths as they realized what had happened. Prime Minister. The Prime Minister had died. His head had exploded in real time. There were several more sounds like gunfire before the screen became silent. The next thing that appeared on the screen was a dakibi. Everyone, I've told you already. This isn't a game like terrorism. People were at a loss for words as their mouths gaped open like dumb goldfish. Do you still not understand? This won't do. Do you still feel like this is a game? It felt so ominous because his tone was so relaxed. Subconsciously, I made a fist using all my strength. Haha, according to the data, the people of this country are very good at games. So, why don't I try raising the difficulty? Beep. A huge timer appeared in the air. At the same time, it started decreasing rapidly. The remaining time has been decreased by 10 minutes. There are 10 minutes remaining. If the first killing doesn't occur within the next 5 minutes, all lives in that carriage will be wiped out. What is this? Is it a joke? Didn't you hear the message just now? Hey, didn't you hear it? Soldier Nim. What do we do now? Why isn't the police coming? Everyone, calm down and listen to me. The words of the Dakibi caused the situation in the carriage to become so severe that Lee Hyun-sung couldn't fix it. I could feel Yu Senga gripping my collar tightly. Still, I couldn't shake off the incongruity of this situation. Lee Hyun-sung, a supporting character, had already appeared. So, why hadn't he emerged? According to what I knew, I should have seen him by now. There is a murder back there. A scene from the 3907 train car could be seen through the aisle window. The complexion of the killer in that carriage was white. We have to keep them out. Don't let anyone in. People held tightly to the iron door, but it wasn't necessary. The enemy wasn't there in the first place. All types of access to the carriage will be restricted until the scenario is complete. Along with this message, people were thrown back from the iron door like they had hit a transparent barrier. What is this? Once again, the voice of the Dakibi rang out, haha, there are some places that are quite fun while other places haven't started yet. Okay, this is a special service. I will show you what will happen if nothing occurs in the next 5 minutes. A giant screen appeared in the subway. The place that appeared on the screen was a classroom. Girls in their navy blue school uniform were shaking. A boy bit his fingernails and muttered, "Is that the school uniform of Daepong?" Beep 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 beep, an ominous beeping sound was heard. Then the high school girls started to scream. The given time has run out. Paid settlement will begin. Once the announcement ended, the heads of the high school girls sitting in the front row exploded. One by one again. More and more heads exploded. The high school girls screamed and ran toward the classroom doors or windows. How? Cleaning tools broke and nails were torn out, but the doors didn't open. No one could get out. Pyong. The heads of the high school girls continued to burst. Then a high school girl strangled her friend, who died with a groan. After a while, the only thing that remained on the screen was the last schoolgirl looking around. #Bay23515 channel. Daepong Girls High School, Year 2 Class B survivor, Lee Jae-hai. The figure of the girl on the screen disappeared. Then the Dakibi asked, "How is it? Interesting?" The Dakibi spoke with a smile, but people weren't looking at the screen anymore. The people who made eye contact were gradually moving away from each other. Shit. What is this? Even Yu Senga released her hold on me. However, she didn't move away from me. Both my hands were freed, and I turned on my smartphone. Why was that guy still not showing up? There was a mixture of information that I knew from the novel and information that I didn't know. The only way to break through this situation was to read Laws of Survival again. However, where else could I find the novel? The novel wasn't popular enough to be shared illegally. No, wait a minute. One attachment. I was stunned for a moment as I saw the notification on my smartphone. Perhaps? No? I was confused the moment I opened the mail attachment. The name of the attachment sent by the author was 3 Ways to Survive in a Ruined World.txt.